Astrid smiled at her young patient and handed a gauze pad to his mother. "Hold this on his arm, and I'll come back as soon as I can." Astrid stepped across the hallway to an examining room and paused in the doorway. A man thrashed on the table, while two others fought to hold him down. His teeth were clamped on the piece of wood someone had given him, yet he still sent one of the men crashing toward the wall. Dr. Elizabeth glanced over her shoulder and nodded toward the other side of the table. "She wants me to take care of this? I'm not ready." But she stepped up to the blood-spattered table. The younger man pressed a towel against the patient's belly wound, his eyes wide as they darted from Dr. Elizabeth to Astrid. Astrid turned to the pan to scrub her hands. "What happened?" "He fell off the wagon onto a pitchfork that was stuck in the ground. The handle tore halfway through him." Her heart hammering, Astrid let the water run down her raised arms and took her place on the other side of the table. "What do we do first?" Dr. Elizabeth asked. How could she be so calm? Astrid sucked in a deep breath. "We can tell he is breathing all right, so settle him down with chloroform?" The words flowed in spite of her panic. "Then clear the clothing away from the site of the wound and check for other injuries." "Right." Elizabeth lifted the towel just enough to look at the wound, then laid it back down. Astrid reached in the cabinet for the chloroform bottle, poured a few drops on a cloth, and held it above the man's mouth so it didn't burn his skin. He gasped, his face relaxed, and his terrified eyes closed. "Thank you. Now, if one of you gentlemen would take her place at his head and hold that bottle, I will tell you all when to add a few more drops so we can keep him sedated." "I will." The older man spoke with a slight German accent. "This is my son, Vernon. Doctor, please, I know this is bad. Help God work a miracle." "We'll do our best." Elizabeth looked to the younger man standing at her shoulder. "Would you go find my housekeeper and ask her to come here, please?" She turned to Astrid. "Go out and tell those waiting that we will be busy for some time." Astrid flew out of the room and did as she was told. Then she lifted down the earpiece on the telephone and asked the operator to ring the Bjorklund farm. "What's wrong?" Gerald Valders, the daytime switchboard operator, asked as he put the call through. "Terrible accident. Please call my house. We're going to need all the help we can get." She heard the phone ringing. "Hello?" Astrid calmed a little at the sound of her mother's voice. "More, come quickly. We need help. Bring your bag." "I will." Astrid hung up and returned to the examination room, now quiet, but for the stentorian breathing of the man on the table. Thelma, Dr. Elizabeth's housekeeper, was helping to cut away the man's shirt. "I called Moore," Astrid said. "Good. I figured you would. The bleeding has slowed. Thelma, bring us a bucket of hot water and lay the instruments in the carbolic acid. Astrid, put on a surgical apron and scrub again. Sir, what is your name?" "Baxter. We work on the Bonanza farm across the river." "Mr. Baxter, watch your son closely. If he starts to blink or flinch, drip a couple more drops on the cloth." After tying a kerchief over her hair and donning the straight surgery apron that covered her from neck to ankle, Astrid lifted the instruments out of the disinfectant. With the blood-soaked towel out of the way, the wound looked enormous. Astrid began digging out debris, pieces of cloth, bits of wood, and bone where a rib had broken off. "Please, Moore, get here soon." Thelma kept handing the two women sterile cloths and mopping up blood and body fluids, along with the sweat from their foreheads. When Astrid saw the tear in the intestine, she wanted to cry. How would they ever fight off the infection that would cause? She set her sorrow aside and slid her hand into the cavity to feel for more debris. "The handle bypassed the major arteries," she reported. Otherwise, he would have never made it this long. "Good girl," Dr. Elizabeth nodded. "Can you detect any more foreign substances?" "Not big enough that I can find. How it